So hi guys, welcome back to the channel. As promised, I said I was going to go through the Rinasclta. I've just finished this build today. I haven't even ridden it yet, so I'll be giving you a first impressions on that one in another video. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about them as a brand. So they came to my attention after seeing a couple of YouTubers, Patrick Lino and Jordan Coleman, talk about this bike. And I know that Patrick, for one, said, it's really well made. It's certainly up there with some of the other ones that he's tested. And I just want to give you a bit more of a background about them as a brand. So they've been around, or their factory's been around since 2011, which may not seem that long, but 10 to 15 years. Most of them out in China seem to have been established that length of time, whether that's Yo-Yo, Windspace, and they've been around maybe slightly longer in that respect, but Rinasclta has basically been an OEM supplier, and that means they're basically making parts for a lot of the brands that you and I have probably already ridden. And one thing I would say on initial impressions, the quality is there. If you sort of put your hand inside the frame, it's nice and smooth. There's no sort of this tenting that you hear about. The paint job is very good. It's very tidy around sort of the dropouts, where your axles go through, where your brake calipers mount, around the headset cup. It's all very neatly finished, and so you can tell that there's a good attention to detail there. The frame, I believe, comes with a 2-year warranty, and when I've been dealing with them, I bought this frame. This was not sent to me. They've been on it because they've got the factories, I believe, are in Shenzhen and in Jiamin, and they've basically got shareholders there, which means they get a lot of say in what they do and what they develop. So this is not an open mold frame bike, but what it means is that they obviously have a lot of control, which is good, because there is brands out there that simply just rebrand a frame that's come out of a general mold. These are not one of them. The other point being is that they meet all of the ISO and EN standards. When I said that in one of my other videos, which you can check in the link as well, that is something that I think as a UK buyer you should be aware of. The ISO standards are international standards. That basically means they just conform to those standards when it comes to building wheels, frames, and the EN standards obviously similar, but the good thing is, and as they say on their own website, they do surpass that in areas of sort of by as much as sort of 20% over the odds, which a lot of the brands, to be fair, do, but they do surpass that, which means it's been through all the fatigue and stress testing as well. So in terms of the frame and its weights, I've got some weights for you here and I'll put them on screen. Basically, the weights come in at, for a fork, you're looking at 472 grams, give or take a few grams for tolerances. Seat post weight is 187 grams. Integrated handlebar weight is 385 grams. That's for a 400 width by 90 stem. And then you've also got the frame weight, of course, which is 1,080 grams, plus or minus 20 grams there. That's quite normal. That's for a 52 size, so with this one being a 54, it's probably about another 50 grams in that respect. I will put them up on screen. Hopefully you'll see that in just a second. And then in terms of sizes, they do everything from 49 centimeter frame right through to a 58. So that's 49, 52, 54, 56 and 58. Yes, I'm ready for a cue card. Finishes are UD Black Matte, UD Black Glossy, and this one, which is their Granite Metallic Red Fade Edition. And then handlebars, you've got 400 wide, going up to 440. And then you've also got 90mm stem length going through to 120. So I've gone for the 400 by 90 on that one. And then prices start at $919, and then they will creep up if you do want, of course, customization. I'm guessing that will be incremental, but the starting price for that is $979. Just something to bear in mind with that: when you get a custom colour, the colours on your screen are going to look different. I used to work in design and print, and what somebody sees on their screen, if they've got poor lighting or the contrast is up or the brightness is down, whatever, they will inevitably see that colour differently to say how it would be on, say, a swatch card. So some of them will say to you, go buy Pantone, which is normally for print, or they might direct you to a website for a colour. But have a good look at that. and just expect that there might be a tiny difference, you know, in the finish. Sometimes, yeah, the more effort you put into it, the more bang on it's going to be, but don't expect them to be sending you samples. You know, generally my belief is, from those that I've dealt with in the past, is that they're asking you to say choose it from a Pantone swatch or similar. You'll choose that colour, and then basically that's what you get. So keep it simple. Do one colour, do a fade. If you start adding multiple colours, it starts getting more complex, and then your lead time is going to go out. So just check your lead times with these products. I ordered this frame, and I think it was with me within 6 weeks, which is pretty standard from China, you know, and that is a compromise. Because if you look around sort of the UK today, carbon frames, yes, there's one or two suppliers, which I don't want to mention for obvious reasons, but there's a couple of suppliers. You know, those two will have a relatively shorter lead time, but in terms of what's available, you know, it's subjective, obviously. But I would say to you, I personally don't feel that there is a great deal about in the price bracket where you can get carbon handlebars, carbon frame, carbon fork, carbon seat post, you know, a headset kit that comes with it, even bearings for your bottom bracket. You know, there's not much out there in the way of around the £1,000 mark. Yes, I'm sure some of you are screaming at the screen saying, well, there's a couple of brands. They are, but how old are those designs? Do you honestly know? I don't. So that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's extremely good value for money, and that's why people are going abroad. The Rinasclta build, I've built this up with a SRAM Force hydraulic group set. I've gone for a 1x system, and the main reason for doing that is to try it out. I have done it on previous bikes before, but this is a slightly different system. If you do your research, SRAM have a calculator there to give you a sort of a like-for-like comparison, and supposedly with a 44 tooth ring up front and an 1136 out the rear, this will give me roughly the kind of spread that you'd expect from an all-road setup, in their opinion, but also similar to sort of 50-34. I mean, where I live, yes, there is hills if I want to go find them, but a lot of the riding I do is relatively flat as well. And the beauty of a 1x system, if you use things like that calculator, the spread of the gears is quite huge. You know, and for one, I've got a Shimano setup where it's a 50-34, and I found I'm never really in the granny ring for where I live. Now, you might be different. You might be somewhere like, you know, who knows, Wales, wherever, that's basically just full of hills, and in which case, yeah, you're going to need a different setup. Maybe that's something I'll cover off in a different video about the right setups for different areas, but 1136 give me plenty of range. The 44 is low enough but not too low that I can't obviously get the speed going if I want to. With regards to the pedals, unfortunately SRAM obviously don't really do any, but there is the Shimano SPD SL pedals, very sort of trustworthy pedal that I tend to use. I've got a Cella Italia SLR Boost saddle, which James over on Bike Fit Tuesday, thank you James, I found a saddle that actually works for me. And then we have also got the wheels and tyres. So we've got Schwalbe, or Schwalbe, however you want to say it, G1 all round, which is supposed to be very good. That's in the size 38, which is what this frame can take. Like I say, it's an all-road frame. And then the wheels are actually second-hand new, and that's these Bontrager Paradigm Comp 25s, because they've got a nice 30mm wide profile. The weight's pretty good, it's about 1750 grams, which, yes, when you've been on a carbon frame might seem a bit too on the heavy side, but the reality is, you know, you're always going to upgrade the wheels at a later stage. If you used to buy a bike like this off the shelf, the likelihood of it coming with carbon wheels is probably very slim, and if it does, it's going to be a very expensive bike. So this is really sort of just to see how I get on with these kind of wheels to start with, and if the opportunity arises where I get some carbon ones, then you know, I will do so. but I'm quite happy with these at the moment. I think it's a good balance. If you do the bike build from scratch for the first time and you spent all your money on, of course, your componentry and your frame, something you can try doing is getting a 29er wheel set. You know, you don't have to get 700C or a gravel specific wheel set. Don't forget that 700C and 29 are the same in terms of the ERTO standards. They are the same. You know, I think it's 622 by whatever your internal width is. If you can, try and go for a wider width. You know, anywhere sort of in the 20s is usually pretty good. Like I say, these are 25 with a 30 on the outside. It just means that the tyre can sit more comfortably on the wheel, which means you can run them at a lower pressure. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to perform. This is going to be as new for me on this particular bike as it will be for you watching it. Is there anything else? Yeah, BB wise, obviously SRAM Dub. That I've got as an aftermarket one with Uber Bike, which is a brand here in the UK. They sort of do all little bits and pieces. But yeah, seems well made, good bearings, carbon steel bearings. And so only the test time will show that. In terms of tubeless sealant, I've obviously got muck off in there and muck off valves. Yeah, the valves are a little bit on the long side, but the ones I already had. Always do a dry fit with those. Dry fit basically means without the sealant, make sure the tyre seals and then do it. Unless it's this combination. This is the first wheel set where I've actually had to put in the sealant to make it seal, and yeah, it's been fine. It's been holding there for the last few days, so that's no problem at all. So without further ado, I'll see you in the next video and let you know how it rides.